Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Comedy Film Nerds podcast.
Very special themed episode today.
Themed episode, which, a.k.a. Chris is on vacation.
Yes. We're visiting family. That's the other one.
Visiting family, yes. So this is pre-taped. You don't know when. You don't know what.
We don't know where.
Don't know where.
Yeah, but it's all a mystery.
You just know it's in your ears, and we're going to be talking movies, so don't you worry your pretty little heads.
I'm very excited. We're going to be talking about classic movies. Yes. We do this every year. Yes. We were a little late this year, but really excited to talk to Allan Havey and about the Turner Classic Movies Film Festival.
He goes to the festival every year. It's a lot of fun. So, all right. Let's introduce him. How about that?
Let's do it.
Instead of just talking about him like he's not in the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the premier comedians of the last, say, 2 decades, around there-ish.
I'd say 3. Go ahead.
3. Okay, 3 decades.
Don't lie about my age, kids. First thing, be honest. You comedy film nerds.
And actually one of the initial Comedy Film Nerds writers when we first started.
Writers?
Before we had podcast, it was one of the first writers. And
he's got a chapter 2 in the book.
Yes.
Got in the ground floor. That's what I did. Track these guys down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Allan Havey.
Great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on. I love talking Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah. It's honestly, my only disappointment is that we're always too busy to go to this goddamn festival. Like, you always come back going, why aren't you guys here?
I know we were shooting the movie this time. Next year, definitely. We're going to block it out.
You've been saying that for the last 3 years.
I know. It's got to end.
They put out the dates pretty early, 4 or 5 months in advance.
We got to block it out.
You have a calendar. I know it's on your calendar. Put it there. You would love this. And you bring along and do a podcast there. Mm-hmm. You know, you could interview people in line, find out where people are from. It's an amazing event.
Look at this guy. That's what we do. We make this a whole thing next year. We set up shop there. We interview people.
You got to talk to TCM, or you can do it outside the grounds.
Well, we'll get it squared away, I think.
I don't want you to suck any juice from Bob Osborne, man. I don't want you to steal anybody's thunder.
Fair enough.
Well, they've obviously been very good to us. They were very open about letting us get past.
Maybe we could, we'll interview Bobby O.
Oh, I like it. Bobby O.
Good luck with that.
On the show.
Good luck with that. You want to interview Bob Dylan, you have a better shot.
Well,
during film festival time, that guy is swamped.
Yeah.
It's amazing, too. He is swamped, but he's there. His energy is amazing. He introduces so many films every day. I don't know how the guy does it.
Well, let's talk about, first of all, which is sort of, it is sort of in this theme, that you were on this past season, or half season of Mad Men. They're breaking it up into 2 last seasons or whatever. Was it 8 and 8 or something like that?
7 and 7.
7 and 7.
That was AMC's idea.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that with Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're all doing that now.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with money.
Maybe, yeah.
I just might guess. I met the people at AMC, very nice people. Charlie Collier, the president, and a lot of the guys there. But, they're in commerce. They're there to make money. I think Matt and everyone on the Mad Men team, and as a fan, we all want to see 14 juicy episodes.
Right.
To finish this great television show, their last season. But I really enjoyed watching, knowing that it was only going to be 7. I valued each showing more. So it made it seem like a full season to me.
What was the whole experience? Because it's funny, I remember you and I were working in New Orleans right after season 1 had dropped, and we were both talking about how much we loved the show. And I remember saying, like, I kind of know John Hamm, and he was one of those guys that struggled a lot in Hollywood. Like, he was just bouncing from thing to thing. And I remember he even saying through a mutual friend, like, I don't know, I might have to get out, sell my house, and move back to the Midwest or whatever. And then
sell his house?
Yeah.
Probably didn't have. Did he have a house out here?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he wasn't struggling that much.
Well,
that's a beautiful thing.
Trust me. Mortgage payments can pile up, Fred.
You mean you still have to pay every month?
Yeah. All it takes is one bad pilot season, and all of a sudden...
Isn't that great that he didn't give up?
No, he didn't.
That tenacity. And you knew him from comedy because he was a big stand-up fan.
Yeah, he was a fan of stand-up. He would come to the shows at the M Bar, back when they were doing what was it? Comedy Death Ray at the M Bar, and you were doing the Benson Interruption. He would come to those shows, and he was always like hanging around because he just dug it. And now, which is why he's so good as a regular guest on Doug Loves Movies, and he's like knows a lot about movies and is very funny. So it's a really cool thing. So going into it, obviously you loved this show. So what the audition process, all of it. What was that like?
Well, I auditioned in season 2.
Okay.
For Bobby Draper, the kid. No, I'm just kidding. They changed him so much. Season 2, when Peggy gets out of the hospital after she has her baby, and these are spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
You will have to say if you haven't seen it. I auditioned for the doctor questioning her. It was a nice little scene, and it was a small scene, but I went in and I said, this is great. If I get this part, I'll be a part of the show. That's all I really wanted.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get the part. They went with a younger guy, naturally, you know. And then I told my manager, I said, listen, I know you guys do everything you can for me. You got to get me in on Mad Men. Just get me in the door. I'll do the rest. Just get me in. So season 2, 3, 4, 5 goes by. No calls, no auditions. It's coming up on season 6, and right before Christmas, my manager sends me an email. Early Christmas present, you have an audition on the 18th for Mad Men. And so I got the signs. I go, oh, this is great. This guy's my age. He's my attitude. He's a wise ass. I'm a comedian. This is fantastic. So I worked on it for 2-3 days. I really got it down and went in, and the audition went great. It's really a fun room for actors. Sometimes it can be intimidating. Sometimes the energy is low. You walk in, Matt's there, his producers are there, the casting people are there, they're taping it. They take it very seriously. And he's very empathetic to actors. So it went really well. 2 hours later, I'm home. I get the call, you got it.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Great. So I go to the table read. I shoot it. It turns out Ham knows me from my work, so that's exciting. And John Slattery, who plays Roger Sterling, I interviewed years ago on my talk show. He remembered.
Oh, man.
Seeing me
Up all night?
Night after night.
Night after night, that's right.
He remembered, you didn't.
I wasn't on the show, Havey.
So,
Maybe you bring me on out of college, and I would have.
College, yeah. You were still a kid. He was still a kid. So I immediately feel comfortable.
Right.
You know, these guys know me, and
which is a big thing when you're going on to a hit TV show.
Late in the game.
All these people, it's not a breakout. This is an established show that has won a lot of awards. Everyone on that set is paid a lot of money. And you know.
It's already got a
I've never been in that position, but I've heard so many friends go, sometimes you work on a show like that and it's intimidating. Nobody talks to you. Like make it like.
Because by then they've got a method and a machine that's
Right.
pretty much goes all the way through.
I mean, Weiner runs a smart shop, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody, you know, it's not touchy-feely, huggy, but everybody's just like, hey, welcome, you're here. How are you? Here's your mark. This is what we'd like you to do. Do it this way. It's very clear, the very direction. So you walk into an atmosphere of people taking their job seriously, but having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's uptight. I didn't feel rushed. There was no yelling.
They're not taking themselves too seriously.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That's the key.
Yeah. And
it was the episode of, if I'm not mistaken, where you were like in the airport, right?
Right.
The rival.
Mm-hmm.
That was season 6.
Last year, season 6,
yeah.
episode 6. And I'm in there, and I give him a hard time about something. And then we wrap. That's it. Hey, nice meeting you, blah, blah, blah. And then I go home. And the show's not even on the air yet. And right before it starts premiere, I get an email, we want you again. They want to bring your character back. So I read that email. I walk into my room. I drop. I take a nap. You know, just like, oh. So I go back and I see what it is, the scene at the elevator. It's 2 lines, 4 words. I got more tension from that scene than anything because they fired Draper, and I'm coming out of the elevator with Duck, who's a headhunter, bringing me in for Draper's job. We get there a little early, and I press the elevator, say, going down. Well, I got more shit for that, and more tension from just that. So are you going to be back, blah, blah, blah. So this summer, I didn't hear anything. I didn't project, I'm going to be back. I said, hey, you had 2 shots. Don't get greedy.
Yeah.
You know?
You were on a great show twice.
You're one of the few characters that gives shit to Don Draper
in
the history of that show. You know, so that's exciting. And then mid-October, my manager calls me and said, I talked to Matt. He's thinking of bringing your character back. I'm like, oh, my God. And then I'm watching the first game of the World Series, Cardinals and the Reds. I'm a big Cardinals fan. Playing the Red Sox. The Cardinals are dropping the balls like the Bad News Bears. I go, shit, I'm watching this. God. Then I get email. I look at it. Hi, this is Heather. Matt would like you to prepare these 3 scenes for like a little acting session. We do this sometimes when we bring characters back. So I look at the scenes, and they're the exact scenes that were in the first episode. I'm taking over Draper's office, my character. I'm the boss now. And I'm like, and I have 3 big scenes. Like, holy shit. So I print it out. I turn off the World Series, which never happens. I underline it. Hand it to my wife and collapse. Then that night, before I go to bed, I get all the lines down. 3 days later, I go in with him for 45 minutes. Now I know that if I don't go in there and do a good job, they'll say, "Oh, that was nice, but we need an actor with better experience or chops or whatever." So it was my part to lose. So that audition, that one moment in my life, and including all the Lettermans I've been on and working in Afghanistan, was the most pressure and the most nervous I've ever felt. And I called two buddies of mine, Brian Koppelman and David Levine. Didn't tell them I was auditioning for, just told them I have a big audition. What's your best advice? Because they cast movies and they've done a lot of work in show business. And they gave me the greatest advice. And it was personal to me, so I can't repeat it. But immediately I was filled with confidence, real confidence, and I was relaxed, and I went in and just had the best time working with Matt on these 3 scenes that were wound up in the first episode.
Well, now, even though you can't give away the advice you got, if another actor asked you that, what would you tell them?
If I knew him as well as Brian and David knew me, I would pull something out of his life that he had done and said, remember when you did this, you know who you are, and just don't forget that this is what you're bringing. They basically made me sense my own value that they've known for years. It just unnerves you just...
Well, that makes sense.
Well, because the thing, honestly, what I saw was in that scene where you're like addressing the group and then you like dress down Peggy, you're like, look, sweetie, like whatever that scene. Yeah. And you had a couple scenes like that where you sort of give it to Peggy, kind of, I'm the man of the office kind of thing. It reminded me, I've known you a long time. I remember me, you, and Doug Benson worked together in Thanksgiving of '97 at the Reno Hilton. We did the improv at the Reno Hilton. And, you know, Doug and I are younger and we're like partying every night. And you and I, it was like Saturday. And so Friday after the show, I don't know, something like, hey, tomorrow, Graham, let's get lunch. I said, yeah, lunch tomorrow at noon. So Doug and I, whatever, drink and gamble till 4 or 5 in the morning. And this is pre-cell phone days. So I go to bed and I had the brain power to call downstairs and say, do not disturb sign. Because that was back when the only way you got a hold of somebody is you called their hotel room. Right. So I said, do not disturb sign on the phone, right? So I sleep through the day. Doug then gets in some all-night poker tournament. And Havey's the headliner. And he finally comes banging on my door at like 4 in the afternoon.
No, it was closer to showtime. Yeah,
showtime was at 8 or whatever, so it's literally 6:30, 7 o'clock, and he bangs on the door, and I like wake up, and this is my favorite. And whatever I am at that point, I'm 26, 27 or something like that, and he's like, "Hey, Graham, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, we're out partying." He goes, "All right, you blew me off for the thing. We got 2 shows tonight. Let's pull it together," and then walks away.
I look at Graham like he just crawled out of, I don't know, a foxhole. And I go, okay, all right, let's go. We got a show to do. Get it together.
Yeah. And he was a little like, hey, let's get it together. I go, let's get it together. And there's walk down the hallway, and I remember just laughing. And then we get to the show, we're all laughing about it. Because he was like, I don't know where Benson is. He's in some tournament. You're not picking up the phone. Let's get it together. And we started calling him Coach Havey after that. But to me, though,
I have that. Listen, if a director asks anything of you, something you've never done, you have it inside you.
Yeah.
Once you pass the age of 30, you've got anger, you've got niceness, you've got joy, love.
You've had it all. You've lost stuff. You've
lost someone in your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when they ask me to do that, oh yeah, no problem.
And that's the thing. That those scenes, I was like, well, that's you. It wasn't like you were just playing Allan Havey, but I said they captured the best essence of you. Now, granted, you've been a lifelong comedian. You're not an office guy. But I go, if you put Allan Havey in an office who's in charge of people in that time period.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's exactly how you would have done it. And I think it's like what you're talking about, like that Matthew Weiner really got that out of you. And I felt like Weiner. Sorry.
That's okay. But here's the thing. I didn't write anything.
I know.
I didn't ad-lib. You don't. There's not a syllable you say that isn't on that script.
Right.
So in that context, it just fit perfectly. Mm-hmm. This character that I was able just to slip into. And the irony is, I've been watching it for years. I love Peggy.
Right.
She's like my favorite character. I relate more to Peggy Olson on that show than Don Draper because Peggy left that Catholic world
Right.
and went across that bridge, which is 10,000 miles into Manhattan.
Right.
You know, especially in that era, women doing that in the early 60s and making those advances, I love that character. So the irony was, once I get on the show, I'm dressing everybody down. You know?
It was great, and it was also too like a statement about, especially this season 6 and season 7 is like 68, 69, 70. It's late, so the big cultural shift. It's in the middle of it happening,
Right.
And so you're like the old guard who's still like, all right, honey, put the apron back on. And she's had to fight through all this stuff. And it was just, I mean, it's why that show's so great. It's so well written and just.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to put the apron on. By that time, I think Lou, where he was, had accepted that women were in the workplace, even racially, when he had to deal with his secretary that he was mad at, who was African American. Okay, I know the deal. We can't fire her, just move her. So Lou's not, well, what's going on here? You know? Lou knows what's going on. He's not an unhip. He looks unhip there.
Right.
You know, because he left this very conservative agency, Dancer Fitzgerald. I did a little research on there. They were pretty conservative. So, okay, I'll go in. I heard about this Draper guy blowing it at the Hershey meeting. I'll come in and I'll save the day. I'm a nice guy.
It's great, too, watching as that season. I don't want to give too much away if anyone hasn't seen it, but then, like, Draper comes back, and you're like, whoa, what's like that? The way you played that was, I just love it.
Everything I did on that show, I was directed.
Of course.
To do. I mean, I did my homework. I made my decisions for the table read. But after the table read, Matt comes up with the director of that particular episode, and they talk about how they want it to go, how they want you to play it. And it's great because you get to do your homework, and you know, especially if you don't have to shoot the next day, you get some time in that scene in your head, and that's what made it easy for me in a way. It was effortless because they tell you where to stand, they dress you, they put the clothes, you know, they do your hair. You don't have to worry about anything. Your props. All you have to do is be present and say your lines. And I tell you what's helped me the last 3 years, too, is meditation. And I bring it up again. I think it's made me a more present actor at auditions. Therefore, I get cast more. I've been cast more. And I think that's, as I look back, what have I done differently? Definitely meditation.
Well, now, when you're on the set of like a show like Mad Men, I know you've been a fan. Is there any did it have like a similar feel to like the TCM Film Festival, like the set of Mad Men, like that kind of era?
No, it didn't. It was as a totally TCM. I'm going there as a fan, purely as a fan to watch. I go to Mad Men set. I am a fan, but I got a job to do.
Sure.
And I'm not. You know, I did go around and sit in all the chairs just to relax and meditate and sketch. I did a little sketching, so I knew where I was, and every now and then it would hit me. Holy fuck! I'm on the set, man.
That's awesome.
And then I went back while I was shooting and watched all the seasons again on Netflix.
Yeah.
And when it got back to Sterling Cooper Price, I go, yeah, that's my office there. That's scene.
That's so cool.
But I really, watching these actors over the last 6 years has been a great acting lesson.
Oh, they're phenomenal actors.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for the cast, I mean, just being open to me and welcoming and kidding around with me at times, and I was included, and you know, we played catchphrase, sit around. It was just great times. They're a family, and I felt like a guest at their table and immediately fit in.
Oh, that's great. That's great that they do that, because not all sets and shows are like that.
No, they make you feel welcome.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's talk about the festival. Now, first of all, was there any differences that you noticed from this year as opposed to the previous years with the festival?
A few more people. Mm-hmm. They opened up some more screening venues, but other than that, no, it ran smoothly. It was a lot of fun. It was on the weekend ending on the 13th when Mad Men premiered, so that was kind of fun to have those moments and then go home Sunday night after the festival ended and go home and see the first episode of Mad Men. And no one knew I was on because I couldn't tell anybody. But the festival was great. And I went to a press conference with Robert Osborne, and just a really interesting guy, a lot of respect for movies. And one of the seminars I attended was headed by Scott McGee, and they do the promotional trailers, the new trailers they do. They take old films and and I've always loved that part about Turner Classic. Not just the movies, but how they promote and present the movies, the original documentaries. But in this seminar, they showed the trailers from years past and some of the memoriam tributes they've had, which are great on Turner. And it really gives more value to these films. It really enhances classic movies. And that was the best seminar I attended.
Just because it's like, just these people are gone, and yet we still have this work of theirs that we can enjoy, and they're never...
Right. And we can promote it in a way that'll make it more interesting to a modern day audience. Like they use contemporary music in some of these trailers, and you see it. And I've seen these movies over the years, but when I see the trailers that they put together...
Do they recut a trailer from scratch?
Yeah.
They do?
They don't,
okay.
I mean, they'll show trailers intact.
Like the classic ones?
Yes.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But then they'll make their own trailer of a movie or a theme or the star of the month, or, like one month they had all the classic westerns except Shane. That was back several years ago, and so they showed that trailer. And the way they edit it, the music they use, and it just makes... God, I got to see this again. I missed this movie. I've seen it, but or
if you hadn't seen it, you're going to be like, well, this looks amazing.
This looks great, yeah.
Or to a kid in their 20s or teens who's into classic movies, this is going to enhance their curiosity and their passion. And I think that's what Turner Classic Movies has done. And they're celebrating their 20 years. So they're still kind of young,
right?
In a way. But this is the kind of channel I dreamed of as a kid.
So what did you see? Let's get into some of the things that you really...
Well, the first night they had a renewed showing of Oklahoma.
Let's make sure you get on top of that.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Fifth Avenue Girl, Cheaper by the Dozen. The one show I went to that night, only one on the first night, was The Heiress. And that was great. And I had seen it on Broadway. I'd never seen the film in completion or on the big screen, and it was terrific.
So that was the first time you'd seen the film?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
All the way through.
This is from 1949. It stars Olivia de Havilland and Montgomery Clift.
And what's The Heiress about?
It's briefly, it's about a woman who's homely. She's the only child of this rich man, and he's uncertain whether he wants to leave his money to her if she marries this man who's courting her. And it's kind of a soap opera, but it's really well done. And I forget who the guy that got up and talked about the movie, but he threw in some things like Olivia de Havilland was carrying suitcases up the staircase, and the director, William Wyler, wasn't getting the emotion he wanted, and he kept doing it. And finally, Olivia got so upset she threw the suitcase at him. It was empty. She said, "Put stuff in the suitcase. Now go up." Got it. It's because she was carrying an empty suitcase, she didn't capture that. So you hear that story,
God,
then you
that's
watch
such a great story.
and then you watch the movie, and then you see that scene, and you hear people going, yeah, that's it. She just needed to carry something heavy.
She looks angrier that the suitcases are full.
She's already, thrown them at William Wyler, but now they're filled, and that was a great moment right there. That's why I go. And plus you see it with an audience.
Oh, yeah.
So even in this thing, there are laughs, there are interesting little tidbits.
And again, Turner Classic is great. Watching a movie that you've never seen, a classic on TV, is great. Seeing it on the big screen as it was intended.
Yeah, I just saw Singing in the Rain, like I said, that revival at the ArcLight a month or two ago, and it was fantastic. You see an old classic movie like that with an entire audience that can't wait to see it again. It's like nothing like it. You feel like you're transported back in time to actually watch this movie with fans. And
I'm curious to want to know the percentage of people at that screening you just talked about who had never seen it before.
That's a great question. I think it's a mix. I think it was like people that loved it and people are like, I've always wanted to see this movie. I'm going to go see it on the big screen.
Last year they showed it, Singing in the Rain, at the Chinese, and Debbie Reynolds came out before and did an interview with Robert Osborne.
Oh, wow.
She had the audience in the palm of her hand.
I'm sure.
She's still a trooper. She still wants to...
I'll give you a great example. John Landis was talking, I saw him in a film festival maybe 10 years or so ago, talking about he directed an episode of, that show, Dream On.
Right.
And Zsa Zsa Gabor was on an episode of that show. And he was talking about what these old, trained in the studio system actors are like. He said she showed up on the set, gracious, how you doing? Met everybody, goes up to the director, hi, how are you? Oh, this is how I like to work, and this, but not like bossy, not prima donna, but just like, I'm a professional, and this is what I do. Then she went to the DP and like, these are the best lenses to use for my face. Went to the hair makeup person. This is what I like to use. Went to the wardrobe. This is what my size, what I like to fit. And he goes, by the end of the shoot, the entire crew was in the palm of her hand. What can I get you, Miss Gabor? And she just said, because that was how you were trained. You knew the lenses for you, the lighting for you, the makeup. I mean, like, you learned everything on top of, you learned how to sing, how to dance, because you'd show up to work and they'd be like, well, today you're doing a Western. Tomorrow you're doing a musical. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so when I hear stuff like that.
Do I get a day off? No.
And a lot of them too also came up in vaudeville.
Yeah, and stage. Well, I would never go on a movie set, and I consider myself a professional actor, and go up to the DP and say, here's the best lens to use.
Right.
Because I come from a different era. Mm-hmm. But people... Anyway, Debbie Reynolds has the audience in the palm of her hand. We're all whipped up into a frenzy. By the time the movie starts, after every number, they're applauding. It was like seeing it opening night. It was going back to the 50s and seeing it. So...
what's interesting about that movie too is it doesn't have a lot of music in the beginning of it. There's like this is a musical, right? And it doesn't it's not constant song and dance. It's like they take time to set up an actual story.
And a great story.
And then it it unfolds naturally. Like it feels like the most natural musical that was ever made.
What's another film you saw?
It's Friday. I go early. I see Zulu. On the set with Michael Caine, who's really great. Mm-hmm. Introduced by Alex Trebek.
Really?
Who's very knowledgeable about history, and so he explains historically and militarily, if that's a word, what was going on at that time and what was this about. And it was a really nice
a very young Michael
intro.
Caine, by the way.
Yes.
Let's see.
And also, that movie has a lot of heavy... sort of politics and social commentary for the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's talking about, sort of like, this is the English Empire.
Yeah.
We're going to wipe out all these black people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, playing opposite that at the same time was Touch of Evil. So you do have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
You also have Great Gardens, Make Way for Tomorrow, The World of Henry Orient, A Conversation with Carl Davis. So I decided, I'd seen Touch of Evil on the big screen several years ago. I want to see Zulu. So then after that, I have a little break.
Let me ask you this about Zulu on the big screen. Comparing it to, because it obviously has a lot of big war scenes, big battle scenes.
Yes.
Now, how did you, in terms of, we've talked about on the show how since Saving Private, the battle sequences in Saving Private Ryan were like ground. They changed how
film perfection.
Yeah.
And no storyboards.
Right.
Yeah, there's Steven Spielberg, which is pretty amazing. So they were good battle scenes. You knew it wasn't. You didn't have CGI. You didn't show.
Every person you saw on the screen was actually on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that? Obviously,
it was
Zulu,
fine because it was made
1964.
Right.
But in terms of putting it in context of 1964. How was it watching it again now in 2014?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It all worked.
Right.
There's nothing in it that that's fake.
Did you ever see the sequel?
No.
Because the Shaka Zulu was it was like I think it was even a prequel that they made.
Yeah, Zulu. No, I didn't get into sequels till The Godfather.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then after that, I go to see Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh.
In the same theater.
The original black and white.
Yeah. Now, Meet Me in St. Louis is there, and I want to see that because there's a discussion with Margaret O'Brien. Mm-hmm. But I've seen Meet Me in St. Louis enough, and I'd love to hear Margaret O'Brien speak, but I hadn't seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers in years, never saw it on the big screen. Also, you had, at that same time, these are the decisions you have to make. Thelma Schoonmaker, the film editor, talking about a matter of life and death. Her husband was the director of that film. You got My Sister Eileen, and then you got Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. So, those are that's just one time frame where you got to make a decision.
Right, you make a choice.
And
I think you made the right one, though.
Well, let me ask you this.
I probably would have gone to see that, too.
And then later that day, I saw The Lion in Winter and The Best Years of Our Lives.
So how was Invasion?
No. I went to see Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks.
Oh, wow.
And that was fun. So that's a day right there. I skip the first showings. I see Zulu, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Lion in Winter, and Blazing Saddles.
That's an awesome.
That's quite a day.
Awesome day.
By the time I go home, I'm kind of drunk with celluloid. And it's, Mel Brooks, you get to see him. He loves his own movies, and he's excited. So
what was his? I mean, his must have been great to introduce. What was like? Did he have any stories that stood out to you about when they were shooting or?
Gig Young originally was going to play the Gene Wilder part, and Gig had a problem with alcohol. He said, I'm dry. And they got the first thing. Apparently, he wasn't dry. He was still detoxing. He wasn't drunk, but he was detoxing. Calls Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder comes out and does it. That to me, and Gene Wilder's perfect in that part.
Yeah.
Now, if Gig Young had it together, I'm sure he'd be great. But I love, when that stuff happens and it works out perfectly.
Let me ask you this, too, about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is a 1956 version. They did several other ones after that. How did this, in terms of watching it now, there's zombie, there's the whole zombie thing, there's The Walking Dead and all this stuff. And I know Body Snatchers isn't zombies, right. But in terms of scary horror movie, how was that? Because here's what I found. I remember seeing Psycho on the big screen for the first time. I had seen it on video several times.
Right.
And then some years had gone by. I saw it when I was a kid on video or on TV or something like that. And some years had gone by, and I watched a lot of horror movies in high school and college and then in my 20s. And I remember it was playing at one of these theaters in the New Art in West LA. And I went to go see it this will be cool because I love Hitchcock. But I'm sure it won't scare me like these movies today, and I was terrified because Hitchcock's the master. So what was that for you in terms of watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Well, it was such a unique original story, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I saw it when I was a kid, and it just fascinated me. Mm-hmm. It scared the hell out of me. Saw it on TV, and it really holds up. And because it's such an original story, these pods come down, people are replaced. What happens to their bodies? We don't know. There's some unanswered things there, but you don't care. You just go along with it.
Right.
And it was like Hitchcock. He goes to a small town, sleepy little town, and there's chaos.
Right.
Just behind the door.
Right.
He does it in The Birds. He does it in Strangers on a Train. These two guys just meet. This very erudite tennis player with this kind of nut job, and it's all the trappings are beautiful. It's not like spooky town, stuff like that. So Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that had happened in this idyllic time, the 50s. And
that's what David Lynch played on so many of his things too.
Yeah.
He kind of built on that. Now the thing about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's one of those unique movies that it's been remade so many times. Mm-hmm. Chances are you've seen a remake before you've seen the original, because it's been so. But it really is worth your time to go back and see the original. It is still creepy. Yeah. It does hold up, and there was, even at the time, there was allegories towards all the some of the remakes to the invasion of Russia into the Southeast Asia, and all these kind of metaphors and allegories there that the domino theory and all that stuff. It was played out in the science fiction story, but you don't really need to know any of that to just enjoy the actual story that's presented to you. Like you said, pods come down and start to replace people. Yeah, and that's all you really need.
Know.
Yeah.
One of your lives, Saturday, April 12th of last year. Classic Film Festival. Here are the movies I saw. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and then I went to The Great Gatsby with Alan Ladd, which hadn't been shown in 45 years.
Wow.
And it was a personal favorite of Robert Osborne, so he introduced it. He was a big Alan Ladd fan. Then we watched it, and it wasn't a great film, but it was interesting because I guess after it was released, it didn't do well, and the studio kept it under wraps until they released the one with Robert Redford. But Shelley Winters has a great turn in that. It was just fun to see one of Osborne's favorite movies. Now, what I passed up was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which I had seen on the big screen. Right. The Goodbye Girl, Stormy Weather, and How Green Was My Valley, which I wanted to see. But I was there in the spirit of representing comedy film nerds, and I said, well, if it's Osborne's favorite film, one of his favorites, I'm going to go to that.
Sure.
And then I see...
Which, by the way, guys, Alan's column on going there is up on the website.
Yeah, that's great.
You go to comedyfilmers.com. It's a great column. He writes it every year.
Then after The Great Gatsby, Godfather Part 2. I watched 45 minutes of it until the senator and Michael have that exchange in the office. I intend to squeeze you, Mr. Corleone.
Yeah.
So I watched that scene, and then I run over and watch a new print of A Hard Day's Night.
Oh, Hard Day's Night!
Wow.
I saw Hard Day's Night and Godfather 2 on the big screen in re-releases, and Hard Day's Night, the opening of Hard Day's Night, is one of the most exciting, fun openings to a movie that you're ever going to have. Like, I don't know of another mega band. I mean, obviously, but do any other bands that have ever been that big, and there's not, you can count them on one hand, have they ever put a movie out like Hard Day's Night?
Well, that's not done
granted,
anymore.
Now, granted, I love Rattle and Hum and all those other, but there's those more like concert documentaries. But this was like a
No, they
scripted-
made actually scripted movies.
God, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean,
that was introduced by Alec Baldwin interviewing Don Was.
Now, by the way, I would, if you two made like a Yellow Submarine type movie, I would go see it.
I would love to see that. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody like you two did make something like this?
Right.
Well, but you two did. I mean, a movie Yellow Submarine did come out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a new band, we haven't seen these. You know, a
You want to
band.
see an
making-
animated movie with a new band? I just want to listen to them. This is not going to happen again.
I know,
The
that's-
Beatles are not going to. This is unique in that
Yep,
time.
exactly.
And the movie was so much fun. You're talking about Beatlemania was back, and it saw it at the Chinese, huge crowd, packed, people going nuts. And when they played the music, it sounded so good.
Yeah.
It just got me on a Beatles kick.
And that's one of the things, you know, I mean, you make a good point. That's the whole thing. I don't think you're ever going to see this again. I mean, the only way it would happen is if a band is like, you know what, we're going to make a movie, we fund our own movie, we make it, and then it somehow becomes a huge hit. Is the only way it would even come close to something
And the thing
like
the
this.
thing that's so amazing about this is it really was one of those, like, part of it was we need to market this band for the States or whatever. Like, they were big, and how can we show them in another way?
Right.
And it's brilliant. Like, these four, because obviously there were people at that time like, oh, these long-haired hooligans and rock
You know
and
the
roll
most
and-
recent...
at the time they were pretty radical.
You know the most recent release that we had that was an attempt at this?
What?
Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Oh, that's quiet. That's going to be next year.
But this is the thing that's so amazing about this. It helped the section of America that was like, these mop tops from the UK, I don't like it, saw this film and went, oh, these are fun kids.
Yeah.
These are like regular nice kids, and they're just this fun band. Like, they're so, the way they're depicted is so, it's from a marketing standpoint, it was really smart and clever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're getting to see.
Well, as soon as they did the press interview, when they got off the plane,
Yeah.
I think everybody goes, "Oh, these are nice guys,
Yeah.
and they're humorous." So I go from Hard Day's Night, and then I go out and get in line for the same theater showing, and I see Sorcerer.
Oh.
And I've never seen Sorcerer. I have no idea what it's about.
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
William
Not a
Fried-
sorcerer in it.
William Friedkin gets up, talks about it, because when it came out, it opened up against a movie called Star Wars. And it did not get any attention. It bombed.
William Friedkin directs it.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider is in it.
Yep.
He brings up the two guys who did they redid it, so the digital restoration. He brings up those guys, introduces them. Then he brings up the screenwriter. And he says, and he talked about how it didn't do well and stuff like that, but he's still proud of the film. So I have no idea what this movie's about. And I watch it. Holy shit.
It's a thriller.
I was on the edge of my seat. It starts out kind of slow. You don't know what's going on, but okay. And you think it's about something else, and then, oh no, this is it. And it's a remake of a film I've never seen, and I'm glad I didn't see it, called Wages of Fear. But it just came out in Blu-ray.
It was a re-release.
And Sorcerer was fantastic.
Came out in 1977, like you said, up against Star Wars. Roy Scheider, that guy, I mean, I can watch him just about it. He's one of those guys that, like, you always... He kind
Fighting a shark or flying a helicopter.
whatever, I know. Oh,
Or
God.
tracking down heroin dealers.
Yeah, I mean, like, go get it. He's, that's awesome.
Yeah, when I first saw him in French Connection when I was a kid, with my dad, I immediately liked this guy. This guy knows what's going on. Gene Hackman's a little emotional, but this guy, he's got it down. He fits. He is a cop, and he was great at it. Friedkin wanted to cast Steve McQueen.
Really?
Yeah, and Steve McQueen looked at it. He goes, "Oh, we got to travel? Yeah, read the script. You go to a jungle." You know? And he was seeing Ally McGraw at the time, and he didn't want to be away from her, so he said to her, "Can you make her an associate producer so she can come with us?" And Friedkin said no. And then Friedkin later said, "Oh, I should have done it with Steve McQueen." But I think Steve McQueen, see, the Roy Scheider disappears in his roles. You're watching Steve McQueen, he's too cool for the room. I mean, if you look at Great Escape, he wore chinos and a light blue sweatshirt and had a $50 haircut at the time. He just, you know what I mean? He's not going to get – and you had to get down and dirty for this movie. And I think Roy Scheider is the best selection for this. I'm glad Steve McQueen was pussy whipped at the time. Because he knew he took Ally McGraw away from Robert Evans.
Right.
He knew if he left her alone for 2 months – it was going to be over.
She'd be back in the egg-shaped pool.
She'd be no, she wouldn't go back.
She'd find somebody else.
She'd go down the food chain. She'd be with a parking valet guy. Yeah. Steve McQueen didn't want that. And next to me, watch Sorcerer, was this 18-year-old kid, maybe 19-year-old. He was really into the music.
Right.
I forget who did. It's electronic music. Tangerine Dream did this great music. But I have
For Sorcerer?
yeah.
I didn't realize they were around for that.
Yeah,
long.
electronic music. So this kid was an electronic music freak. He loved the movie and he loved the music. So that's
It is based on a book, The Wages of Fear,
yeah.
that they said they did the original movie on.
And that's another thing about the film festival. Next to you, there's people from Kansas. I ran into ladies from Alabama. They go there every year. They go, "Yeah, we've never been to the beach because we want to see the movies." You know, we like to get out and see more of California, but the movies are so good. So
You know what? That is awesome that people are coming from all over for this festival.
from Europe.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Because honestly, you're right. Where are you going to see all of these movies projected? And they're probably screening a lot of 35 millimeter prints, correct?
oh yeah. This is, and you know that you're going to these people who do this for a living. You know they're going to give the respect to movies that you yourself have.
Yeah.
So not only do you get to go see the movies, but you get to thank personally Robert Osborne, Ben Mankiewicz, all the producers, all the people behind the scenes. And when you have that little placard and you look at the person next to you, you're the same person. That's your brother or sister. You know, we're film fucking geeks.
Yeah.
We are entrenched in it. So when it's just a fun time. Just a great time. And I go through a little depression afterwards.
Oh.
You know?
A little withdrawal.
Yeah. You know, no more TCM.
Not,
wait till
not till next year.
Yeah, and I'm not a cruise guy. Otherwise, I'd take the cruise, too.
Did you see anything on Sunday?
Yes, I did. Sunday, right before I went home and celebrated. Yes, I saw, what did I see? Fifth Avenue Girls Sunday. What did I see? On Approval. A great English film, obscure film, very funny comedy. And really enjoyed that. And that was it for the day. That was it for me on Sunday because I had to get home.
Well, that's a lot of movies
That
for
is
3
a lot
days.
of movies.
That's, I mean, you're seeing.
Usually, last 2 years, I did 5 movies a day.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, I got it down to 4 because I was getting a little burnt out.
That's still.
But I'm going to get in shape next year. And I'm going to see every goddamn movie.
Now, do they have like a closing ceremony, like on Sunday nights?
Yeah, they
too?
have a party
Uh-huh.
that people can go to, and Robert will stand there and he'll sign. You know,
Oh, that's great.
That's so great. That's how you run a festival, man.
He makes it accessible.
Neil was actually really disappointed that you didn't get a second pass this year. To
Yeah, I
get
didn't
to him.
last year I did a TCM podcast, which was great. And they showed a promo on the actual TCM channel. So that was huge for me.
Oh,
hey, look,
very cool.
I'm on TCM. You know?
Oh, that's great.
And hopefully in many years to come, some movies that I've had parts on will make it to TCM. That'll be another.
Well, I'm looking at the list too, and it's like they're obviously doing a lot of movies from the 40s and 50s and 60s and the 70s, but they even put in like American Graffiti, which is a film I saw as a kid in the theater.
Isn't it still 70s? American
Yeah, I think
Graffiti?
it might have been. What is that?
Yeah, no,
78?
that's the 70s.
78,
But
78.
Dreyfus came by and gave a talk before American Graffiti.
Oh, cool.
I didn't see it, but I saw him in the lobby, like walking around.
That's a guy who I would love to see speak because he just has one of those, I don't know. He's just one of those guys who actually American Graffiti was 1973. George Lucas, This movie, I remember when it came out. Oh, I know what I did. I know when this happened. I didn't see it when it came out. They re-released it in my city in like 78 or 79.
Okay.
And I remember watching it as a kid, confused, because I was like, why is Han Solo drag racing? Like, I didn't. I was like,
really?
I still was
didn't
like,
know the concept of acting. So
well, I was like, Han Solo's drag racing with one of the Laverne and Shirley people. There's the kid, from.
So this is your first time you realized that actors did different roles.
Yeah, it was kind of.
How old were you? 73.
Yeah.
73. I was 4.
Okay.
I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But then I had seen.
But wait, 73.
I saw it after. I saw it in 78, so I was like 8 or 9.
So it was after you had just seen Star Wars.
I just seen Star Wars, so I was like 7 or 8, and I was like, kind of getting it, but not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Where's his vest?
Yeah, where's his lightsaber?
There's the guy from Happy Days.
How come the Wookiee doesn't help him change the tire?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Why is he not drag racing with the Force?
I grew up with my dad watching movies, so I immediately got the concept. He turned me on. That's why I'm such a movie freak. It all goes back to my dad. This is an act. Now he played this in the other movie and stuff like that. So I immediately understood the concept of actors play different roles in different films. And one day John Wayne was a cowboy, the next he was a Marine. So you didn't have that because in your town, your little town, as you said, there were pods. And people were replaced. Graham has no emotion.
I don't. It's taken away by.
We don't understand. He didn't like it. He said his mother wasn't his mother, and now it is his mother.
Yeah, American Graffiti is it's pre-Star Wars George Lucas. It is a lot of fun, and if you want to see all these people, Cindy Williams, Ron Howard, Mackenzie Phillips, really young,
great cast, great story.
That's where I actually met George Lucas. I met him at Aspen, the comedy festival.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I got the picture with him. He was up there for a reunion for American Graffiti. They had a screening. And it was him, Richard Dreyfuss, and I think a couple other people that showed up for it. It was great.
And I got to tell you, it's funny because it's one of those things where the guy that played Johnny or whatever, Paul LeMat, he was one of those guys who he did that. He did more American Graffiti. He did a couple others.
He did the Howard Hughes
Howard Hughes one, and then. Like, there wasn't that, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't that much. He did Melvin and Howard. I mean, he was in American History X, but not, like, that he was so, American Graffiti had such a big part in it. And then, and then you just didn't see him as much after that. And you wonder why. If you look at his IMDb page, he was a Vietnam War vet, and he was like, won the Vietnam Service Medal. And
what more can he do for you?
Yeah.
Not only that, but it appeared in many of your favorite films.
Well, it's not that he hasn't done for me.
Hey, what happened to you?
No, I always wonder, with somebody like that, what did happen? Like, did he just make a choice? Like, I remember I hear him, John Savage said, and he went to Africa for a number of years and just did charity work because he was kind of fried with Hollywood. Did Paul LeMat do that?
He might have done that. It could have been any.
Was it
anything?
I always wonder.
They were talking about a comedian the other night, just in the last 10 years, who got deals and he was hot and he decided, nope, don't want it. Moved to Florida, works down there, and is happy. He just didn't. He said, I don't want to have to answer to people.
Well, I get it. Honestly, having been doing this a long time, never had any real crazy fame. Little taste of it, but seeing friends like Zach Galifianakis or somebody like that go through
Ken Jeong,
big crazy fame, and seeing part of me going, would I want that much? Would I want TMZ crawling up my ass and all that stuff? I don't know, man. I don't know.
But the thing is, you negotiate it as healthily as you can.
Right.
And move on. I mean, that's what happens.
Sure.
I think what.
But my point is, though, I get somebody seeing that, tasting it or whatever, and then going, no.
Yeah.
Some people, how could you do that? I get that. I get somebody walking away from this going, it's too nuts for me.
I'd like a chance to take a swing at it. I'm 59. I'm still out there.
Give me a chance to walk away.
It's an interesting gig. And as we get older and we learn more and understand the business more, we see that when people do that, maybe walk away, stuff like that, okay, I get it. It's not, when you're 22, oh, wait, you're going to be famous. No, and then you hit your 30s and 40s. I understand.
Right.
White people don't want that attention on them all the time.
Yeah.
It's even with his appearance on Mad Men. I go to the market now, I get some double takes, and someone will come up to me, and it's fine. It's great.
It's great.
In Australia once, I did a TV show. This is going back 20 years. Everybody knew my name for 5 days. And it was kind of fun for 3 days, and after a while, it was kind of weird.
Right.
Then I came home. But if you're going to be famous, go to Australia, because people are so nice.
It's a great, it's a great country. I'd love to be famous there.
People just want to say, hey, I like your work, or, stuff like that. So if you don't take it too seriously, I think that's the best way to handle it. Of what little I've seen and been a part of.
Right.
And believe
you can't take it too seriously. You also have to know that, it's so fickle and show business is crazy and, whatever. Everyone's got their new flavor of the month and all that kind of stuff.
And even before Mad Men, doing Louis and Punk'd and all these stuff, your mug gets out there. So I get on a plane. Some people do double takes, but they don't know me. Did I go to 7th grade with that guy?
Yeah.
Was he the weatherman?
Looks familiar.
So that's a level of fame I'm really happy with.
Yeah. Just the right amount.
Yeah.
Look. All right. Well, that's our episode, guys. That was a lot of fun.
I would say this to comedy film nerds: go on TCM website, find out when they're having this film festival next year.
Mark it in the calendar.
And if you can, save your money and come to New York. It is in New York, L.A. You do have to pay for a hotel and a plane, and the tickets aren't cheap. They're around $400 or $500, but it's worth it. If you're really into films, this is movie heaven.
Right.
Realized. And the sad thing, Mickey Rooney was supposed to make an appearance, passed away like a week before, a couple weeks before, so that was a drag. But someone you love and is an influence your life is going to be there.
That's awesome.
That's a great pitch.
You might be able to ask them a question or two.
Yeah, and they'll be really friendly and nice and accessible.
Because they're there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That's cool. All right, Alan.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Thanks for going there and covering it every year and writing us. We always get
it's really awesome.
We always get a great article out of you for it, and you come on the show and talk about it, and it's really cool. And we have this all the time when we bring, like when we had my dad on the show, he was recommending classic movies, and fans who listen always go, "Oh, I've never seen these. Never heard, I never heard of Sorcerer."
Right. Oh, it's
you know what I mean?
Yes. And don't disconnect the phone, sit down, watch it. And just trust it's going somewhere. Oh, I don't know what it's saying. You don't need to understand because you're going to understand.
Yeah.
Soon enough, and you're going to dig it.
It's going to be great.
It was great.
And it won't have Steve McQueen in a $50 haircut.
No. And I like Steve McQueen.
I love Steve McQueen. But you're right, though. That is a good point, though, in general. There's certain movie stars that get too big to play certain roles.
Right.
And it's other types that can play that sort of. Like Tom Hanks has been able to pull it off, where he can play a guy that's a regular guy.
Captain Phillips. I mean, he was that dude.
He was that dude. You didn't sit there and go...
It's rare. It's rare when a giant star is still able to do that.
Paul Newman in The Verdict.
Oh.
You didn't see glamorous Paul Newman, and he was that
It's like Brad Pitt is great an actor he is. You still kind of see Brad Pitt in a lot of roles.
Part of it is because he's really good looking. Steve McQueen was like crazy good looking, and I think like these other guys that are just like okay looking guys or whatever.
Paul Newman, I'd say Tom Hanks is pretty damn handsome.
Yeah.
Don't you be trashing Tom Hanks. No, but there's some actors that just can do that, And even if they have a lot of fame, personally, I think Brad Pitt's great.
He is great. He's a great actor. And he does a good job of it. But in certain role, I mean, he has to work hard. Like he does stuff like what he did in Snatch or whatever, where he plays. And again, he's not the lead of that film. He can pull it off, but it's hard. It's hard.
The pothead in True Romance.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, he was that dude. He was that. Here's probably the best looking, most glamorous guy at that time. Thelma and Louise had come out. And there he is playing, a pothead hitting on a honey bear bong.
I know.
And it's totally believable. So Graham is wrong.
No. Well, if we're going to get into the argument, then I will say my point is those are all – he's not leading those movies.
You're right. You're always right.
Doesn't it need to be a fight, Alan?
I don't know. I like to mix it up. And every time I see you, I think about a kid who doesn't give a shit about comedy. And I got to get up. We got to show these. This is live. This isn't your podcast.
Let's get it together.
Even though it hasn't been invented yet.
All right, cool. Alan,
Always a great time, guys. Thank you.
Where can people find you online?
Where it's online.
Online, AllanHavey.com. You want to find out where I'm doing my stand-up thing. I play in Tahoe and Vegas at Harvey's and Harrah's, respectively, at the Improvs there. I'm in New York at the Comedy Cellar. You just go online and check me out. Send me a message if you want. Let me know what you thought of Sorcerer and this podcast. I'd love to hear back from you. And that's it, kids.
Say hi to Coach Havey, guys. Say hi to Coach Havey.
Easy on the weed.
Get it together. And get it together.
You need any life coaching, some advice?
Oh, that's going to cost you. I don't give that out for free.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to the show. Obviously, follow us at Comedy Film Nerds.
Yes.
ComedyFilmNerds.com. As we said, spend $20 with us once a year.
That'll be helpful.
That helps us out.
Especially right now when we have a movie budget.
We have a movie budget. And, of course, you can follow, we're watching all the footage with Earbuds and everything this summer, and you can get updates on that if you follow all the Earbuds at Earbuds Pod Movie and the Earbuds, earbudspodmovie.com and all that stuff. So, and of course, LA Podcast Festival, September 26th through the 28th. We've been adding shows all the time. The lineup is getting pretty solid.
Yeah, it's Doug Benson, Jay Moore, first time doing the festival.
Jonah Ray, Janet Varney, Stephanie Wilder-Taylor. It's a great lineup as always. And it's a new hotel, which I know you guys are going to love. And that's lapodfest.com, September 26th through the 28th. Hurry up, the discounted hotel rooms are going fast. Thank you once again to our guest, Allan Havey. My name is Graham Elwood.
And I'm Chris Mancini. And as always, remember...
Han shot first.
Drag racing.
Get it together.